So I thought a couple times about how to make this exact video, and there's no real easy way around it, so I'm just gonna dive in head first. Not even hands out, just head first into the shallow end. A young person in high school made a clock, and by made a clock, he packaged a clock into a metal box and brought it to school the day after 9/11. He went to his science teacher, showed him the clock. The science teacher said, "That's great," and I'm paraphrasing, "that's great, but you should probably just leave that in your pack for the rest of the day and don't bring it out anymore." Later, something happened. Another teacher, an English teacher, either heard the clock or saw the clock and asked what it is, was shown the clock and said, "This is a problem." The police were called, the young child was put in handcuffs, and he was taken to the police station. The problem I have here isn't with the child. If the child is, and you have to just take a child at his word. If the child is truly a tinkerer and interested in electrical things, then you can't be mad at the child. What I have a problem with is this complete lack of journalism and this complete lack of integrity calling this what it truly is. And what it truly is a smokescreen. This young boy didn't make a clock. He didn't buy pieces and solder them together. He didn't print a circuit board. He didn't tear the insulation of wire. He didn't make connections. He didn't check his circuitry. He didn't know any of these things. No. What he did was he took a clock that was like this and made it look like this. And he did this the day after 9/11. So if you put the politics aside, let's just focus on the reality of this clock. The clock was a clock with its own case, with its own ability to manipulate the knobs and controls before he ever laid a hand on it. And then what he did was tear that case asunder and glue it, strap it, whatever, into a closed metal pencil box, which made the clock less useful than its original design state. And the news media call him an engineer. They call him a scientist, and they say he made a clock. What frustrates me so much is that on one hand the media says we don't have enough scientists, we don't have enough engineer, but then they reduce down engineering to the simple ripping asunder of a plastic case and slapping the components into a metal box. It is to engineering what stolen valor is to the military, what he did here. And he may not be actively perpetrating this. He may not have wanted it to come out this way. Maybe he's just truly just interested in making a fun thing. But the media is claiming that he's an engineer. And he's not correcting them and saying that he actually didn't do anything other than repurpose something in a way that's less useful. Which is the antithesis of engineering, if you think about it. What I think touches home for me on this is there are so many gifted people, and I'm not even gifted, because it's not even about gifted. It's about people who have put in real time and real effort to do and make real things that are electrical and scientific and amazing little projects, and they don't get a minutia of credit that this young man has gotten for putting a clock in a box. Take, for example, myself. And maybe this is why I'm so bitter. As a young kid, 5 or 6 years old, I was taking things apart like these clocks and doing things to them in greater ways that this young man in high school did with his little metal box. I was taking drills apart that my dad thought were previously broken and fixing them. My school projects were about making circuits and showing how rheostats work and figuring out the resistance of different types of metal and showing how circuitry is better suited for different types of metal. Explaining why. Not just copper is good and silver is good and gold is good, but explaining why and showing it. When I went to high school as a freshman, I was already the IT guy for the school, working with another person. We rebuilt most of the computers in that school, serviced all the computers that already existed, and we built a network, a gigabit backbone network to the district, the school district, fully integrating all of the sites together. I didn't get an invitation from the president. I didn't get identification from MIT, and I sure as hell didn't get thousands of dollars of equipment from Microsoft for doing those things. Now sure, I got paid for those things, and I got valuable experience, and I'm not complaining that I didn't get enough, because I'm happy what I got. I'm complaining that there are people who actually do things and actually make things that don't get an inch of credit in comparison to the miles of credit that this young man has gotten for purely political reasons. And it makes engineering and the sciences look like a sham. Like they're not hard work. Like they're not something that you have to go and practice and you have to work hard at. At a certain point you have to ask, what is this? Is this premeditated by the child? I don't think so. It's premeditated by the family? Maybe. Is it the media looking for a horse to attach their cart to and let it run wild through the city? Probably. But now you have to ask yourself, well, maybe I shouldn't tell Ben to focus on hard work and science. Maybe I should just tell him of what interesting things can we put in boxes to get people to think things that we did that we really didn't do and make them believe and have these emotional fear responses to something that was never a threat, but regardless, get you notoriety worldwide. What other things can we put in boxes, guys? Here's a question to the audience. What other things can we put in boxes? I got a VCR. We haven't seen VCRs in a while. That clock was from the 80s. VCRs are from the 80s. What about a Betamax tape player? Wouldn't that be crazy? Or maybe one of those DVD players, remember those clamshell DVD players? What if you get rid of all the clamshells and you just made that the box and put all the guts in the box? Would that be worth a couple $1,000s to Microsoft? Would that be worth notoriety from MIT? I'm saddened on so many levels, and I'm appalled at the media for making this child appear to be a scientist or an engineer, when the only thing they provided for is the repurposing of a clock. It truly puts a point on exactly how ignorant most of us are starting to believe the media is, and how pandering truly our politicians are, by taking this as a platform, by not actually asking questions and doing proper journalism and asking, what did you actually do here? What did you actually make? And that's part of the problem with why we have the society moving in the way that it's going. And don't worry, I'm not one of those doom and gloom types who, oh, back in my day. No, not at all. The society is much better off than it's ever been. Things are much better off than they ever have been. But we are in a situation where we have less people who want to be engineers. Less people who want to put in the hard work to actually become an engineer. And by doing what the media and the president is doing, they're driving that situation further down the road. By their own hands, by their own words. And that is the worst part about this. And they should feel some sort of shame for it. And there's nothing else I can say other than that. I didn't want to make a video about this because it is so easily to manipulate and to make it about an emotional feeling of race. And it has nothing to do with that. It's about the fear of possible danger, real danger. Because guess what, guys? Bombs kind of look like that. IEDs have looked like that in the past. And they'll continue to look like that in the future. And the misrepresentation of what it truly is to work in the sciences and to work as an engineer. And that, I think, is what bums me out the most, because supposedly all the people who are raising this person up are the same people who came from, or should have came from, the roots of understanding of what engineering is and what all this is supposed to be. And what is it now? It's a circus. It's a sideshow. It's a freak show. The child's not a freak. Of course he's not a freak. The media and the response and the two-sided conversations and the backhanded art, like the backhanded insults of what people are calling each other, it's a sideshow created by people who should know better. And I'm done with the whole thing. That's it. I've said my piece. I'm done.